Hey again guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Walt Moore, also known as Dan Wilson. Doing a little work in the garage again today. In one of the last videos I was starting to show you guys some chainsaw maintenance tips as far as sharpening the chain, and I kind of got interrupted by a storm blew through there, so kind of picking up where I left off there. And I was going to show you again what I got here is a Craftsman 14-inch electric chainsaw. It's a pretty good little trim saw we got here, and just show you guys a few little maintenance things. I'd be a chainsaw owner and you may already know some of this stuff, but if you don't, stay tuned and I'll show you guys a little something about bar and chain maintenance and various things. For those of us here in the Midwest, I've mentioned before, I'm here in southeast Missouri. We have a lot of violent storms, and including straight line wind, tornadoes, and we get a lot of trees and limbs and stuff knocked down. So having a chainsaw of any kind, be it electric, gas powered, whatever, is an indispensable tool to have around for sawing up those trees and limbs. A few years ago I had several more chainsaws, and at the moment I got one broken down I'm going to repair pretty soon. I got a Poland chainsaw as well as a Home Light over there. When he said they'll get around to repairing those, but for right now, just be using the Craftsman electric saw. So here in a minute, I'll show you guys some of the tips and pointers I was talking about. Well, guys, besides resharpening the chain, as you see right here, there might be a time we might need to remove the chain or replace the chain, and sometimes we do a little bit of bar maintenance. And so I'll just show you real quick here how we're going to take the bar off and do a little cleaning and such another. So we have down here, hopefully you guys can see it okay, just most chainsaws have a couple of nuts down here, plus this what's usually called a pressure plate right back in here. So we need to loosen those up. What I have here is just an ordinary socket and ratchet. This one takes a 1/2 inch size socket, so we'll just slip it on there and back those off a little bit. About like that. Just loosen them initially. There we go. Over on the other side over here, if you can see it very well or not, there's an adjustment screw right down in here. Now some chainsaw manufacturers will include what's called a multi-tool, like you see here. This one I actually bought separately. Pretty handy thing to have. I know Stihl is one manufacturer, usually includes one of these with their chainsaws. What we have here is a socket type end that usually fits a certain size of spark plug. Another end over here is for some smaller spark plugs. Then you get a screwdriver type end right here on the end, which is great for, just like what I'm getting ready to do here, for taking the tension off the chain. So we're just going to reach down here and begin to loosen this up a little bit. I'm just going to turn this counterclockwise. Couple turns, push back on the bar just a little bit. There you can see the chain starts to come loose. We're going to need to go a little bit looser than that. So a couple more turns like that. Push the bar back in a little farther, and eventually we'll get the chain loosened up where it'll come off the sprocket end of the bar over here. Okay then guys, eventually we'll get this loosened up enough. We just want to take the chain and just gently roll it right off the bar just like that. Actually I took it off the wrong side. Let's put it back on. Go back the other way. Slide it right off like that. Comes right out of the track. Okay guys, I'm going to show you now how we're going to take the bar off this particular chainsaw. So these are all quite similar. Most of them have just a couple of nuts here on the side, plus your pressure plate, it's usually called. We're just going to go ahead and take these nuts all the way off here. After a little bit, we just take our socket and extension off there and just spin them right off. There we get the first one off. And next one's off of it. Usually a good idea to take your bar, kind of shake it back and forth a little bit just like that. Okay guys, there's the pressure plate. At least that's the term I've heard this called. I don't know what you call it. It's just a plate that goes on the other side of on the outside of your bar right here. I just call it a pressure plate. This one needs a good cleaning, by the way. Okay, now that we have this out of the way, our next step here is we're just going to slide the bar. Kind of got to work it around the chain here a little bit. And again, just wiggle it a little bit. A little more, and off it comes. There we go. Okay, bar is off of it. Pretty simple. Good idea, guys. Try to keep your chain as straight as possible when you're doing this. Another thing I want to mention too, as far as bar maintenance, it's a good idea to flip your bar over every so often, such as whenever you need to change out your chain. Eventually your chain is going to wear out where it can be sharpened any longer, and you're just going to have to replace it. So that's a good time to remember to flip your bar over. And most of these bars will have writing on them. This one's getting pretty worn because it's a Craftsman brand, but you'll usually have some kind of writing on the bar that's still somewhat readable. If not, you can take a marker of some kind, put an arrow mark on the side of your bar. Now you may be wondering, why do you need to flip your bar ever so often? Well, the reason being that when you're cutting, most of the pressure is on the bottom side of your bar. In most cases you're using a chainsaw like this, cutting into the wood, and you're putting most pressure on the bottom side of the bar. If you do not flip your bar over from time to time, you'll get excessive wear on one side only. Okay, that's going to cause your bar to wear unevenly, and that could lead to a future chain failure, possibly even a chain breakage. That's pretty rare, but it can happen. The whole point that I'll make right now is that by flipping your bar over periodically, such as when you need to change out your chain, is so you get equal wear on both sides of the bar. So we just take it using, in this case it came off with the lettering. I know you can't hardly see it, it's pretty worn out. Lettering is upright. We're just going to put it back on. We're going to flip the bar over where the writing is upside down. So it's going to go back on like this. Most chainsaws, your bar will go back on in either direction. Doesn't really matter. Now, well, I got this bar off of here. I'll show you guys a neat little trick on cleaning out your track of your bar. What happens there is we get a lot of debris and buildup down in here. If we don't get rid of it, it's going to cause the chain to run unevenly and cause more excessive wear on the bar. Plus we want to make sure we get our oil ports, which are back in here, make sure those are cleaned out quite thoroughly, so we make sure that our bar and chain gets adequate oil on it when the machine is being operated. You can take a small screwdriver, a very thin one, and do this. A little trick I learned a long time ago is take an ordinary hacksaw blade, such as what I have right here. It doesn't matter if it's a new one or a used one, okay? Just an ordinary hacksaw blade. Turn it over against, opposite of the side that has the teeth on it. So like right here, flip it over and use the back side. Take your hacksaw blade, at least with most chainsaw bars, your hacksaw blade fits perfectly in this slot on the top right there. That hacksaw blade goes through there and just pulls that crap right out of there. Look at that, look at it just coming out of there. Okay, we're going to flip it over and be sure to get up here in the nose of the bar real good. Bring her down the other side like this. Sometimes you got to make 2 or 3 passes on these things. We're going to get all that debris and stuff in there. What happens, guys, is we got to use our bar and chain oil to keep our bar and chain lubricated, of course. And when the sawdust and stuff gets in there, it just sticks down in that groove right there. We'll be sure and clean that out. So the old hacksaw blade is just perfect. You can usually take our shop towel and just kind of put a little twist in it like this. Clean out these oil ports right down in here. Make sure those are cleaned out, or it's going to get plenty of bar and chain oil. I'm going to go ahead and take the chain completely off the saw. Just flip the saw over like this. And guys, what I want to show you here is best to always try to keep your chain as straight as possible when you do this. And this chain is still usable. It's not due for replacement. It needs to be sharpened. I haven't finished sharpening it yet, but other than that, it's still in good shape. So I'm just going to take this off for a couple different reasons. And that is so I can inspect that sprocket. Here comes the chain off of it just like that. That's where you want to kink up on me. Best thing to do here, guys, grab your chain by one end like that and just let it hang down. Okay, don't let it get all curled and kinked up, because you can have a heck of a time getting it unraveled. So just like that, grab it on one end, let her hang down straight, lay it down flat on a good flat surface, such as a workbench or work table. Well guys, just a minute ago I took my air nozzle and some compressed air and blew all the debris and stuff out from around the sprocket up in there. Got that all cleaned up real nicely, gave it a good sprocket inspection. Sprocket looks real good. So we're in good shape on that, and we're now ready to put the chain and bar back on the chainsaw. Very important thing I'll embarrassingly mention is when you do this on your own, be sure and get the chain back on in the right direction. That may sound completely stupid, but only one time before I was doing this and my mind was off in the clouds or whatever it was that day. I actually put my chain on backwards. If you can see his teeth on here, I'm gonna get you guys a good close-up shot. They're pretty small in this saw. Look just like that right there. It's that angle right there. That's your cutting edge right there. Well, only one time I was just in a rush or wasn't thinking. I put the chain on where this backside here was actually going forward, and guess what? It did not cut very well at all. And believe me, it makes all the difference. So just a little something to point out. We're all human and we all have our bad days and make our mistakes. So the chain is in the correct direction this time. I'm going to slide this end here. And guys, what I'm reminding you is, you do this on your own. Don't let your chain get in too bad of a kink or whatever. They're a little hard to straighten out. Just working in her gently like that. Just got to kind of push and pull and tug and this and that, and wiggle her back on there, wiggle it back and forth till it finally seats in the sprocket. And there it went, just like that. It's on the sprocket. So next we're going to pull our chain out straight, and we'll start working our bar back in. Boy, I almost forgot. We're going to flip our bar over. Right here you can barely see Craftsman written. We took the bar off. The writing was upright. I'm going to flip the bar over so our writing is upside down. If you guys can see this very well now, there's a little tab type deal. Let me slide this back off and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Just in case you don't know, on almost every chainsaw you have a little adjuster. It's a bar adjusting tab right down here, which is attached to this screw out here in the front. So this moves back and forth. That's how you adjust your bar and therefore adjust your chain tension. So it's very important when we do this, we've got to get that adjuster in this hole on the bar and just got to slip it on there. There it went just like that. We'll just push it on back in there. And what we'll do before we even mess with the chain is we'll go ahead and get our pressure plate back on here. And on this machine, it's a good little saw, but for some reason this pressure plate's a little bit of a hassle to take off and put back on, but it'll go back on. There it went just like that. Only now I've got to wiggle it around to where that little tab is. Well, it's where it's supposed to be. So okay, that was a little easier than it was the last time I did this. Go ahead and get our nuts started on there. And the reason we want to do it in this order, guys, is so we want to get the bar where it's somewhat stable before we start messing with the chain. Otherwise you'll just be fighting it all the way. Believe me, I've done this so many times. So again, the way to do this is pull the chain up over the nose of the saw like this, and we'll just start rotating. It'll just work its way on there. That's what we do here, guys. We just want to get that chain in that top track like that. We're going to make sure it stays on the sprocket. And again, we're going to get on our adjuster screw right here. This time we're going to go clockwise and tighten, 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 tighten. And before we tighten our nuts all the way down, we're going to check our chain tension a little bit. Give it a little bit of a rotate back and forth. Make sure it's settled in good. Make sure it's still on the sprocket good. That feels real good. I'm going to tighten her down just a little bit more. Now we want to check here, guys, the big question most people have is how tight does your chain need to be? Well, it's just a matter of opinion. What I tend to do is tighten the chain up to where I can pull it up to where there's about maybe 1/8 of an inch of slack in it. Okay, now another pointer I'll pass along is anytime you pull your bar off to rotate your bar or change out the chain, especially when you put a new chain on your saw. After the first few hours of run time, it's going to stretch a little bit. It's just the nature of a new chain. It has to get broken in. It's going to stretch, so your first 2 or 3 hours of run time, you're going to be retightening your chain more frequently than you will be with a chain that's well broken in and already stretched out. So we're just going to pretend like this is a new chain. So we're going to retighten. Actually, I'm going to slightly over tighten just a little bit. Not going to hurt anything. Right about there. Essentially what I'm looking for when I'm tightening the chain down for the proper tension, I want to make sure it just snaps back in place. You might think of it as kind of like a banjo string or something. I don't know how else to explain this. If you pull your chain up and it falls out of the track, or doesn't stay in the track, it's too loose. Okay, so you're going to pull it up like that. Make sure your guides down here in the bottom stay in the track. It's on the bottom of the chain. And then just make sure it wants to snap right back in place, just like that. Just like a fiddle string. There we go. Okay, and then we're ready to go ahead and tighten down our bar nuts right here. So again, I'm using the old 3/8 drive ratchet and socket. And guys, when you do this, tighten them down equally. Go on this first one here, 1/4 of a turn. Back nut, 1/4 of a turn. Front nut, another 1/4 of a turn. Back nut, another 1/4 of a turn. In other words, don't tighten one of these all the way down and then go with the other one, tighten it all the way down, because your bar will end up uneven and your chain's not going to run correctly. It's going to run unevenly. So tighten them down equally. They're getting pretty close, feeling pretty tight. One pointer there, these do not need to be extremely tight. In other words, don't get on this with a breaker bar. Just, again, what I do is I'll grab the ratchet right on this end or near the head of the ratchet like this with my hand, and as tight as I can get it, about like this, is tight enough. So there we go. Alright. So, we got our bar flipped over, cleaned out our bar track. I will finish sharpening the chain when I get back to it. And that all looks fine there. So we got our pressure plate back on, nuts tightened. And that is some very basic chainsaw maintenance for you guys. Anyway guys, just a few little tips on maintaining your chainsaw, be it electric saw, gas saw, whatever type or brand you might have. They're all pretty similar as far as maintaining your chain and your bar. Just a few little pointers on that for some of you guys maybe kind of new at chainsawing. So I always help you guys out a little bit. So, anyway, hot sweaty day here in Missouri. After we have a storm, it just turns off hot and humid and muggy, and oh my God, it's a scorcher here in the garage today. Anyway guys, like I mentioned many times, don't be afraid of your tools. They're great to have around. Like I said, if you live in storm area like we do here in the Midwest, chainsaw is just a must-have tool. But you gotta be careful, guys. I mean, I stress this so many times, every tool video that I do, don't forget your eye protection. Okay, you gotta wear your safety glasses. In some cases, your hearing protection is necessary. Tools like this, you may want to choose a pair of rather thick gloves. Main thing, especially with a chainsaw, when this machine's running, keep your hands, fingers well away from the bar and the chain. Do not let this get into your leg, your foot, or anything else. You just gotta be careful, guys. But it's a great tool to have. I stress this so many times. Safety is the #1 thing working with any type of tool, especially chainsaws can be quite dangerous. So guys, be careful. If maybe you're a relatively new chainsaw owner, you just haven't used one much. I've been around chainsaws since I was about like 15 years old, so I've been around them for a lifetime. But if you're new to it and maybe a little concerned about it, get some instruction from somebody who's more experienced. You know, watch some training videos. Here on YouTube you can find a wealth of information on just about everything. But get some training, read your owner's manual thoroughly pertaining to your particular saw, be it whatever brand, whatever type. But get to know your machine, get to know your tool, and get some advice, get some pointers, like I'm trying to help you guys right now with this video, and as best I can. But if you're nervous about it, you know, get some training, get some help. Bottom line is, don't get yourself hurt. Be careful, guys. Anyway, guys, got to run for now. Got more stuff going on before the day is over with. I want to thank you guys for checking out the video. Appreciate you guys a lot. Again, I'm Walt Moore, also known as Dan Wilson. And if you like this type of video content, be sure and like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And don't forget that bell icon, guys. Hit that bell icon. You'll get reminders to your email every time I post a new video. Again, that subscribe link is right over there in the corner. Guys, let's go over there. If you haven't done this yet, go over and click on that. Got more great tool videos and tips and pointers and whatever else I can come up with to help you guys out. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. You guys take care. God bless. See you guys on the next video.